You know that feeling, right? When you're just staring at a problem, maybe a big work project or figuring out family stuff or even just
Hmm.
finances, and the words, the numbers, they all just blur. You feel like you're spinning your wheels, working so hard, but just getting nowhere.
Yeah, like your brain's this cluttered room and every new thought just adds to the pile. Total overwhelm.
Exactly. So what if the answer isn't putting in more effort? What if it's about, I don't know, a different way of thinking?
Well, that's precisely it. It's about untangling that knot. And that's why today we're diving into something really useful for your mental toolkit. We sometimes call them cheat sheets for reality.
Cheat sheets for reality. I like that. You're talking about mental models, right?
Exactly. These simple but really powerful frameworks.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is basically to give you some of these tools, frameworks that help cut through all that noise, understand things better.
Make better decisions, yeah. And hopefully with less stress. It's that whole idea of thinking smarter, not harder.
Right. Moving from just wrestling with problems to actually architecting solutions. Sounds good.
It is. And what's interesting is, while using frameworks for thinking isn't new, this whole modern focus on mental models as a practical toolkit, a lot of that buzz really comes from Charlie Munger.
Warren Buffett's partner,
Hmm?
the legendary investor.
That's the one. But he wasn't just about finance. He was a huge advocate for multidisciplinary learning.
And he had that famous idea about the man with a hammer, didn't he? How experts can get stuck in their own viewpoint.
Precisely. He noticed how, if you're a psychologist, maybe you see every business problem as purely behavioral.
Or an engineer sees it all as a systems failure.
Right. And look, those views might hold some truth, but they're rarely the whole picture. Munger saw that relying on just one discipline, one favorite tool, well, it blinds you.
So it's like having only a hammer means everything starts looking like a nail. That's the trap.
That's exactly the trap he warned about.
Yeah.
His genius was pushing for this idea of a lattice work of mental models.
Well, lattice work,
Yeah.
meaning interconnected ideas.
Yeah. He believed real wisdom comes from understanding fundamental concepts from lots of different fields. Physics, biology, psychology, economics, history.
So you weave them together.
You weave them together, exactly. This lattice work lets you look at a problem from multiple angles, see its real shape, find those hidden connections. It helps you avoid that man with a hammer problem.
That makes a lot of sense. Building a diverse toolkit, not just relying on one thing. Okay, so let's get basic. What exactly is a mental model at its simplest?
Okay, so think of it as a simplified representation of how something works in the real world. The classic analogy is a subway map.
Right. A subway map isn't geographically perfect. It straightens lines, changes distances.
Exactly. It leaves out streets, buildings, all sorts of details. But is it useful for getting around? Absolutely. It filters out the noise and gives you just what you need to navigate a complex system.
So mental models are like that, but for reality.
That's the idea. They simplify complexity.
Like that map isn't a territory itself, but it's a vital guide. Or, sticking with the tool analogy, if you only have a hammer, you're limited.
Right.
But if you have a hammer, a screwdriver, pliers, a wrench, you can tackle more jobs, pick the right tool. Mental models are those tools for your mind.
The more you have and the better you understand them, the more versatile you're thinking. They help you understand situations, predict outcomes, solve problems.
Okay, so why are they so important? Why do we need this kind of upgrade to our thinking, especially now?
That's a great question because our brains, amazing as they are, they're built to conserve energy. They love shortcuts.
Habits, assumptions, the easy route.
Exactly. And while that's efficient sometimes, those shortcuts can lead us into cognitive biases, bad decisions, especially when things get complex like they are today.
So our brains can be a bit lazy by default. And mental models are like an operating system upgrade, helping us override those biases.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's like installing new software that helps your brain spot patterns, make connections it might otherwise miss. It helps you turn that flood of information into something you can actually use.
So it combats information overload, filters the signal from the noise.
Definitely. And it improves decision-making, moves you beyond just gut reactions towards more rational choices.
And I imagine it helps with stress, too. If you can structure a confusing problem, it feels less chaotic.
Absolutely. It brings clarity, reduces anxiety, and it fosters creativity. That lattice work idea, connecting ideas from different fields, that's often where real innovation happens.
Taking an idea from biology, applying it to business.
For example, yeah. Plus, they improve communication. If you and a colleague share a model, you have a common language. It makes explaining complex stuff way easier.
It really feels like they give you more agency over your own thoughts. Instead of just reacting, you're actively navigating.
That's the goal. Purpose and clarity instead of chaos.
Okay, so the world of mental models seems huge. Do you need, like, a PhD to use them effectively?
Not at all. That's a common myth. The most useful models are often pretty simple. It's more about conscious practice than genius-level intellect.
And it's not about just collecting as many as possible, right?
Definitely not. Quality over quantity. It's far better to deeply understand, say, a few dozen really versatile models and use them consistently than to just know the names of hundreds.
Makes sense. So let's get practical. Can we talk through maybe 3 powerful, versatile ones people can start using right away?
Let's do it. A starter toolkit.
Okay, first up, second-order thinking, the and then what model. You mentioned earlier how we often focus on the immediate stuff.
Right. That's first-order thinking. Immediate problem, immediate reward. It's natural, but it often misses the downstream consequences.
So second-order thinking is about looking further ahead.
Exactly. It's systematically asking, and then what? What happens after the immediate result? What are the consequences of those consequences? Thinking 2, 3, even 4 steps down the chain.
Okay, give us an example, maybe from work.
Sure. Let's say your team wants to rush a new feature out the door to beat a competitor. First-order thinking says, great, we get to market first, grab users.
Sounds good on the surface.
It does.
Hmm.
But then you ask, and then what? Well, rushing likely means bugs. Okay, and then what? Bad user reviews start popping up. And then what? Your brand reputation takes a hit. And then what? Support gets swamped, people burn out. And then what? Maybe that competitor, though slower, releases a polished product and wins over your unhappy users in the long run.
Wow. Okay, so that initial win suddenly looks pretty costly.
It can be. The second-order effects completely change the calculation.
What about a personal example, like
Yeah.
stress eating ice cream?
Perfect. First order. This ice cream will make me feel good right now. And maybe it does for a moment.
But then, and then what?
And then what? Sugar crash later, feeling sluggish.
Hmm.
And then what? Maybe guilt, which adds more stress. And then what? If it's a pattern, maybe long-term health issues. Second-order thinking helps you weigh that immediate pleasure against the longer-term costs.
Trading short-term gratification for, hopefully, long-term wisdom.
Okay.
I get that. What's model number 2?
Number 2 is inversion, or the thinking backwards model, championed by folks like the mathematician Carl Jacobi, and of course, Charlie Munger loved this one.
Thinking backwards, how does that work?
So instead of asking, how do I achieve my goal, you flip it. You ask, what would absolutely guarantee that I fail to achieve my goal?
Huh. Okay, why do that?
Because, as the saying goes, avoiding stupidity is often easier than seeking brilliance. By identifying all the ways you could fail, you create a super clear not-to-do list.
Okay. So if your goal is, say, a successful marriage, thinking forwards might be vague, like be more loving.
Right, which is good advice, but maybe hard to act on specifically. But if you invert, what would absolutely ruin a marriage?
Okay. Deceit, disrespect, selfishness, jealousy, never listening.
Taking them for granted, being financially irresponsible. See, now you have a very concrete list of things to actively avoid, much more actionable.
I see. Or for giving a great presentation. Instead of just be charismatic, you invert. What would make this a disaster?
Exactly. What comes to mind?
Projector fails, laptop dies, going way over time, not knowing the audience, just reading the slides word for word.
Not having answers to obvious questions.
Right. So now you have a practical checklist. Bring backups, practice timing, research the audience, prepare for Q&A. Inversion turns that vague anxiety about success into a concrete plan to avoid failure.
Precisely. It's incredibly practical.
Okay, powerful stuff. What's the third one for our starter kit?
The third one is a bit different. It's Hanlon's razor, the don't assume malice model. This is less about solving a specific problem and more. Well, maybe a life philosophy model.
Don't assume malice. Explain that.
It states, never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by carelessness. Or you could add ignorance or incompetence or just plain busyness.
So don't automatically assume someone is trying to be malicious or hurtful.
Exactly. It's like a mental circuit breaker against our natural negativity bias. We tend to jump to negative conclusions about why people do things.
Okay, yeah. I can see that. Like if a coworker sends a really blunt email, my first thought might be, Wow, they're trying to undermine me.
That's a very common reaction,
Huh.
and it immediately puts you on the defensive, right? Makes collaboration harder.
For sure.
But Hanlon's razor prompts you to pause and ask, could there be another explanation? Maybe they were just super busy. Maybe they were typing on their phone and it came out wrong. Maybe they had a terrible morning. Maybe it's a cultural difference in communication style.
It doesn't necessarily excuse the bluntness, but it changes your reaction.
Exactly. It depersonalizes it. Instead of firing back with hostility, you might respond with curiosity, like, hey, just checking in, is everything okay? Or just let it go.
Or the classic example.
Yeah.
Someone cuts you off in traffic.
Right. Malice first thinking. That selfish jerk, they did that on purpose. Cue the road rage.
Hanlon's razor thinking.
Maybe they didn't see me. Maybe they're lost. Maybe they're rushing to the hospital. Again, doesn't make the driving okay, but it saves your emotional energy. You become more charitable, more patient, probably more effective in the long run.
That makes a lot of sense. It prevents you from wasting energy on perceived slights that might just be mistakes or carelessness.
Exactly. It's about conserving your own emotional resources.
Okay, these three second-order thinking, inversion, Hanlon's razor, they feel really applicable to everyday stuff.
Yeah.
But you mentioned myths earlier. What are some common traps people fall into with mental models?
Good question. A big one is thinking a mental model is the absolute truth. Remember the map analogy?
The map is not the territory.
Precisely. Models are simplifications. They are inherently incomplete, sometimes flawed. They're tools, not dogma. You have to avoid falling back into the man with a hammer problem by using only your favorite model. You need that lattice work.
Right, and the myth about needing to be a genius.
Yeah, we touched on that. Most useful models are actually quite simple concepts. It's about applying them consciously and consistently, not about having a massive IQ.
And the idea of just collecting models, like mental Pokemon.
Right, gotta catch them all. No, it's really quality over quantity. Deeply understanding and regularly using a core set of versatile models is far more effective than having a superficial knowledge of hundreds.
So focus on mastery of a few key ones first.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking ahead then, you mentioned complexity, AI, information overload. How crucial are these thinking frameworks going to be?
I'd say more crucial than ever. As the world gets noisier and more complex, the ability to simplify, to see patterns, to think clearly using robust frameworks, that becomes a real superpower.
Do you think technology might help? Like apps that suggest a model, or AI that spots our biases?
It's a fascinating possibility. Maybe AI could act as a coach, prompting us. Have you considered the second-order effects here? Or might Hanlon's razor apply? But even if that happens, the core skill of understanding and applying the models yourself will still be paramount. Tech can augment, but it probably can't replace the thinking process itself.
So the future requires better thinking tools.
Definitely. Clear thinking isn't optional anymore. It's essential.
Okay, so let's circle back. We started this deep dive talking about that feeling of being overwhelmed, stuck, wrestling with a problem like it's a tangled mess.
That knot of confusion.
Yeah. And what we've seen is that the clearest thinkers, they aren't just smarter in some abstract way. They have better tools. They have this mental toolkit.
And mental models like second-order thinking, inversion, Hanlon's razor, these aren't just theories, they're practical strategies. They turn those big, abstract problems into something you can actually manage. They're key parts of, let's call it, the mind manual.
The mind manual, I like that. So the takeaway for you listening, the next time that fog of confusion starts rolling in, just pause. Don't just try to think harder.
Think differently. Pick a tool.
Ask, what would make this fail? Define that clear not-to-do list with inversion.
Ask, and then what? To see beyond the immediate with second-order thinking.
Ask, could this just be carelessness, not malice? Use Hanlon's razor to save your energy and maybe a relationship.
Remember, thinking isn't just something that passively happens to you. It's a skill. It's a craft you can actually cultivate and master.
So here's a challenge. Pick just one of these models we talked about today.
That's one.
And consciously try to apply it every day for the next week. See what happens. Notice how it changes your perspective, maybe your decisions, maybe just your overall peace of mind.
Because by picking up one tool from this new toolkit, you really can start to untangle that knot of confusion one loop at a time.